I have a plan for pretty much every aspect of my life, from where I originally was going to graduate from university to my next step after my undergraduate degree. But if my time at university has taught me anything, it is to expect challenges and to channel any rage I may feel productively. Challenges in life are notoriously hard to overcome, such as changing your major, moving countries, or taking care of a family member. Whether it be for me to transfer schools too late to be a full-time student at Boise State and feeling as though I was falling behind, or realizing that your family needed your help and your friends are not necessarily understanding of the time commitment. I learned that challenging yourself to take on as much as you can may also mean you will need to take a step back from other things. I left what I thought was my main passion so I could focus on my degree. I feel like a failure because I had to drop something to make my life a bit easier. Though dropping this, I gained a lot more. Mainly I found my purpose in life, which ultimately changed. Well, really, it just altered a bit over the few years throughout my degree. My time during my undergraduate degree was a bit abnormal and not anywhere close to the path I thought I would take over the past 3 years. I did not apply to Boise State during high school, even though I lived less than a mile from campus and knew Boise inside and out. I instead moved to another Idaho university, where I immediately transferred after just a semester there. I thought myself a failure because my cousins and other family members tended to graduate from the university they started at. I felt this failure to a point that I did not want to tell my extended family in person, and instead had my mom tell them before I moved home. I was still going to attend a college the rest of my freshman year, but I felt as though I had diverted from the path I had set out for myself. While I knew I was not a failure because I would still be attending university, I was having a hard time coming to the realization that my plan that I had set out for myself in high school was changing. This change in a path did not only change what I had planned for my degree, but also what I did in my personal life. My Nana was always someone I looked up to and who I went to when I had a challenge in life. When I transferred to Boise State, she was diagnosed with frontal lobe dementia, which began a very challenging time for my family and I. The time that I spent helping take care of her changed my mentality and my degree, as well as my personal life. I spent my summer before my sophomore year taking care of her during the day, where we talked and watched a lot of news, mainly CNN and MSNBC, where she would give her 2 cents on current events. This is where I discovered my rage, which is not a bad thing. I think that finding your rage can point you in a better direction. Rage is not always associated with violence. For many, including myself, it is associated with the feeling that justice is not being served and that I feel drawn towards a cause. I always knew I wanted to work in politics, which was a change from a vast majority of my family who are teachers, because I wanted to apply my knowledge outside the United States. I just didn't know how. I found my way in the time spent with my Nana. I knew that while domestic politics was interesting and important, when the international politics section of the news was aired, I was hooked. I knew that I could work for an international organization and not only help the United States through increasing international cooperation, but also other countries that have been affected negatively by events. Some would consider my feelings of rage towards the current political climate as unhealthy, but I disagree with the sentiment because it fuels my passion. Brittney Cooper says that rage can help us build things too. The rage that I feel on a daily basis when watching the news has helped me build my new pathway. I choose to accept the rage that I feel and mold it into the path that I want to follow. I followed my rage of how international affairs are portrayed in the media towards my degree. I followed my rage to my year abroad, and I ultimately followed my rage to my decision to complete my postgraduate degree in the United Kingdom. I think that while U.S. universities are great educational institutions, my rage for the hurt in the international community can only be satisfied abroad. I knew that sometimes my rage can get me in trouble, like getting into an argument with my conservative family members about the state of U.S. foreign policy put in place by the Trump administration. But I also know that that same rage is what sets me apart from my fellow students, because I am not afraid for it to shape my views on the world. One should have, in my opinion, at least the smallest amount of rage to ignite the passion towards the career or place in life they see themselves in 10, 20, or 30 years. I have seen through my time at university that deciding only what I do not want to do in life is not enough. I used to be in this lane. I knew I did not want to be a teacher, doctor, or lawyer, but I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do. I'm a chronic overthinker to the point that I wonder if the specific class that I am taking will help me further my career instead of signing up for it simply because it satisfies a graduation requirement. The rage that was ignited during my classes about the international community, such as topics about terrorism and counterterrorism, global development, and a U.S. government lecture taught in the UK by a Belgian professor. These courses are what led me to change my answer at the dinner table from, I don't know what I'm going to do after graduation, to, I'm going to work for the United Nations or a similar NGO. Cooper says that the clarity that comes from rage should also tell us what kind of world we want to see, not just what kind of things we want to get rid of. I've always been interested in politics. The thought that I could help shape the fabric of my society so that it includes everyone and everywhere drew me towards my eventual major. At first, I thought that my choice to focus on international policy instead of domestic policy was wrong because there are a lot of improvements that can be made in the U.S. I quickly realized through my studies at 2 universities, a community college, and a year studying abroad that I should not do simply what many believe should be the focus of my career. I learned that very early on when switching my degree minor for the first of 3 times. The dilemma that I felt throughout that situation is that I was a failure by switching my minor not once, not twice, but 3 times. I know that this is seen as normal. Even changing your major multiple times is not that abnormal. But to me, I thought myself a failure because I had a plan to graduate in 4 years, being as close to fluent in a foreign language as I could, and going on to work in domestic politics. I knew that challenging myself to change this set path would be the right thing for me. During that path change, I joined the Honors College where I was challenged more than ever before. I've always believed that I could find a career path, but during the past years, I've learned how to funnel any challenges and rage that I may feel towards a particular topic in a productive way. I believe that your rage is justified as long as it is not violent. Anger towards a particular event, law, or political movement can help you find your purpose in life. I know it did for me. I've always thought that if I were put in a situation, I would prevail and help improve the cause in some way. Perhaps that and the acknowledgement that having a plan is okay, but being prepared to take a detour is even better, is why I chose the career and life path that I have. This feeling of confidence contrasts with my fear of failure. I feel that I can make a change, no matter how small, that would ultimately help the international community and find an outlet for all the rage that people think I possess. Tim O'Brien writes, "All of us, I suppose, like to believe that in a moral emergency we will behave like the heroes of our youth, bravely and forthrightly, without the thought of personal loss or discredit. Life can be a moral confusion, one that I am almost certain I will never understand and will therefore be confused always. I think that during my years in university, I've come to realize that the moral confusion is a good thing, because it means I am looking for a deeper meaning of something, not just how it will impact me in the coming week." While living in the United Kingdom for a year, my moral compass, in some sense of the word, was challenged. I had thought all along that I had a good background in U.S. history, but I was wrong. This realization came when doing independent research or challenging my professors on a certain topic, because while I believe the U.S. sets a good example internationally, it is far from perfect. I decided that over that semester I would challenge everything I know, even if it meant challenging something that I was certain I knew in its entirety. Challenging your moral compass to the point that you have caused a moral emergency is not a bad thing. It means that what you have learned is to challenge what you know, something I've come to accept during my time at university. What I knew could be right or it could be wrong, but channeling the rage I had towards realigning my moral compass was part of my path in life. I knew that if I did not have it in me to challenge the status quo, I was not suited for my decided career path. I had come to the conclusion that those in power want to stay in power and sometimes are a bit flexible, though for some they straight up lie with the facts. Rage and uncertainty about my moral compass allowed me to emerge from my time at Boise State a more well-rounded individual because I realized that I was taught to challenge in debates or even in a simple research paper, because any rage that I kept bottled up did no good to society. Instead, I learned how to challenge that rage productively to attempt to make a change. I never thought that I'd be graduated in 3.5 years, let alone be graduating from Boise State after studying in the UK for a year. I knew the minute that I got back to the States that what Boise State, and especially the Honors College, has taught me is that you need to take what you believe is your purpose in life and find a way to fulfill it. Also, use that rage inside you to challenge everything you thought you knew. I found through my solo travels that there are minuscule differences between the U.S. and other countries. I know that their politics or customs are different, but what we all want is a better world, and the rage that many politicians are not taking seriously is building. I want to channel my rage, as Cooper would say, to building something productive instead of letting it fester inside me while I continue on as I always have. Taking care of someone close to you changes you fundamentally. You no longer just want to go on with the life path that you set out for yourself. During this time, I had changed a lot about my life and career path, and I realized that I needed to stop doing things just to please people. Instead, I needed to write my own story. My time at university has shown me that I can challenge authority while still being respectful, but also getting things done. Cooper writes that joy arises from an internal clarity about our purpose. My purpose is justice, and the fight for justice brings me joy. The purpose that I feel inside me is to help within the international community. I know that if I had kept on with the plan I had laid out for myself as a senior in high school, graduate from Idaho State University, and either go to law school or get a master's degree, I would be miserable right now. Yes, I'd still be graduating with the same degree, but I would not have the same experiences as I do now. I would not have found the purpose in life that I am channeling my rage through. I would not have had the professors in the Honors College to challenge me on a daily basis about what I thought I knew and what I thought I needed to learn. I would not have had the experience of studying in a different country where I had fellow students challenge what I thought was a very solid moral compass. I would not have found the rage that had pushed me away from law school and into the arms of international politics postgraduate degree. I would have stayed strong with my solid moral compass and continued on the path towards what I was sure was my purpose in life. Whether you continue on in the path that you carved out for yourself as a naive 18-year-old high school student, or you challenge everything you thought you knew and take an off-ramp to a different destination, the rage you feel should guide you. The rage should not feel as though it's a violent tendency. Instead, I feel as though my rage guided me towards my purpose in life, which I found, as O'Brien did, by challenging myself in a moral emergency in which I would be a pivotal player. I thought that I was a failure because all I had learned in high school was being challenged not only by my professors, who were there to challenge you, but by my fellow students who I thought had learned the same facts as me. Cooper writes, "When the struggle feels unwinnable, may you never forget this one thing. You got this. We got this." I knew that I could overcome any of my failures, even if it meant completely changing my purpose in life. Living a life carved out in a specific way is an okay way to live, but I learned quite recently that we can't let the messed up state of our world steal our joy. Joy should not be something that you strive for overall, because you will probably not be joyful 24/7, and that's okay. I believe that we should be challenged and not be okay with a mundane life where we continue on as if we know everything and everyone. I know that my rage will only strengthen my purpose in life, something that has been altered numerous times during my multiple life course changes. But the joy that I feel when I can make a change in someone's view on an international event based solely on what my rage is telling me to challenge, culminating with the challenges put forth by my academics, I know that I can conquer it. Challenges is what makes our rage justified and creates a path for us that, though mine wavered a bit, uphold our purpose in life. I've always known that having a path in life was great, but what I've learned over the past 4 years is that challenges and the discovery rage against something happening in society are what drives me. Challenges can be hard, and sometimes the rage that you feel towards something may not feel productive. But I know from experience that channeling that rage and overcoming those challenges will only lead you to a more purposeful and joyful life. I am not a failure for altering my life path, nor am I angry because I follow my rage to my purpose in life. On the contrary, I believe that those challenges and rage have led me to be a more productive, empathetic student, worker, and human being overall.